What's going on, guys? Welcome to the New Equity Connections podcast. It's your host, Ian Starkey. Today, I'm sitting down with a good friend of mine, Chad. Chad is the key principal and fund manager of Alpine Fund. It's one of the top performing funds in the nation. I'm going to let him dive more into that because it's something that I'm still learning. I'm learning a lot from him every time we talk about it. So, Chad, thanks for coming on, man. It's a pleasure.
No, it's my pleasure, and I really appreciate you having me and having our fund Alpine on the show. Looking forward to having this conversation.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So if you could kind of tell my audience a little bit about Alpine, what markets you're in, what you focus in, and just take it from there.
I actually like to take just a quick step back, kind of tell you a little bit that I'm a 49-year-old guy, married
Yeah.
with a couple of kids, as well as I've been really fortunate to kind of jump from, I had a father that was in the automotive industry and had multiple dealerships. So I've been able to kind of go from that industry into what I currently do with Alpine, which is we trade the United States Treasury of short duration and long, as well as the S&P 500. And I have truly an amazing team that has the ability to look at volatility and not the VIX as our indicator to the fund. And what it's allowed us to do from a standard deviation, max drawdown, and Sharpe ratio, it has us being one of the top performing funds out there, especially through COVID. That's what really got a lot of eyes on us because we didn't lose money through COVID. If you had money starting with us in January, your money never fell below its originating balance. And I think that's something that's really attractive to people, as well as having a nice 7 to 10% return.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I jumped the gun a little bit. So let's take it back. Like you said, how did you get into this space? I know you mentioned you started with car dealerships. Let's start from there. I want to hear about that.
Well, my father was in the car business. He owned a dealership in Mercedes-Benz dealership in Sarasota, Florida, as well as Volvo, Subaru, BMW. He kind of had a lot of different lines, and he was considered the American dream. He came from nothing and on a borrowed $5,000, built up this automotive empire.
Mm-hmm.
And then along the way, via relationships, and the relationship actually with the Halprin family out of Miami, it's Ernie Halprin, who's now passed, and his son, Glenn. That relationship was a real life changer for me because it allowed me to learn not about just the automotive stuff that I knew about, but I learned about real estate. I learned about the financial systems, and it really propelled me into the world I'm in today. Because about 17 to 18 years ago is when I left the car business and went into the family office business. And so for me, that's what that relationship allowed me to do. It educated me to feel comfortable enough and confident enough to make a jump like this. And my father remained in the car business and is now retired, but has a part of our family office as well.
Absolutely. And let's talk about that if you can. What that family office looks like. And for those who don't know, if you could just give them kind of a watered down, simple version of what that means.
What it means is that my personal family ended up having a nice exit. A public company came in and bought one of our dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
So that time is when we decided we needed to get educated financially about what's out there, what's available, what makes sense to us and what doesn't. And through that education, we realized that, okay, we weren't going to give our money to a registered investment advisor. We weren't going to give it to the big banks and then find out how well we're doing with our money. We felt like that we were responsible for making this money, so we need to be responsible for keeping it. And so at that time is when I started doing mergers in the pharmaceutical and biotech space because of my relationships with the Halprin family.
Mm-hmm.
Also started doing some real estate purchasing of different types of real estate, everything from land all the way up to buildings. So the full plethora of real estate with those relationships. And then what ended up happening for me was I have a 20-year relationship with a gentleman named Brian Frankel, who's my business partner. And he was the one that originally showed me the idea and the theory of Alpine. Being a quantitative strategy with its simplicity and its ability to work, not only in today's environment, but in the future, was something that was really attractive to me. And also the scalability of it was something that was very attractive. But the number one thing that attracted me to this whole process was that it was conservative. I felt like my father was the one who took all this risk and did something really great, that I could be the one that didn't have to take the type of risk that he took. And for me, it was like I wanted to figure out a way to not only preserve capital, but to make a nice return on it that felt comfortable for us, for our risk profile. And that's when Alpine actually came into my life at that same time frame. So I'm already thinking about these things. This comes into my life, and we had the ability, Brian and I, to incubate this for 5 years. And what I mean by incubate is we paper traded for 2 years, and then we traded it with $500,000 for 2 years. And at the end of that process, we knew we had something that was really great, but we were still a little bit paranoid because these numbers were that good, that we then went out and found the smartest person we can get our hands on. And that's our third partner now, is Neil Harriet. And Neil won the Math Olympia, Computer Science Olympia, mathematics at Harvard, and went from Harvard to Goldman Sachs to Ellington, where he had a $350 million quant fund that he ended up exiting from and starting a different business. And we went to him and said, rebuild what we started with from our theory. We're not going to tell you where we source data. We're not going to tell you anything else. And his statement is why, or his question was why. And so our statement to him was, we need to be sure before we go out and talk to any one of our relationships, we have to be sure that these numbers are what we think they are. Mm-hmm. And by the end of that process, Neil liked the product so much that we were able to come together as a team, the three of us. And that was a little over 4 years ago, that we started that. We launched the fund December of 2017. And we've had great performance all the way through. And it's been a lot of fun, to be honest with you. Some of it has been a lot harder than I anticipated. And then some of the aspects of it has been just more enjoyable than I anticipated. So there's been a little bit of the yin and yang of the roller coaster with this, but I love what I do because I know I'm doing the right thing with people's money. I'm doing it with my own money. I'm one of the biggest investors in the fund. And so I practice what I preach, and so do my partners. And it's just something that allows me to walk into any room in the world and I can look anybody in the eye, because we have a fund that's not going to implode. And if it does implode, it would mean that we need ammunition, because we're trading the United States Treasury bond and the S&P 500, and the world's got greater problems.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome, man. I mean, you really built the fund for your own, to protect your own wealth, protect you and your own family's wealth, that they, like you said, your father worked, risked, and sweated, and he earned it. He earned every penny, and now you wanted to protect it, and now you figured out not only can you protect it, but you can grow it at a really safe, secure, and attractive rate. So why not share this idea with everyone else?
Well, there's that. And then listen, there's also another piece to this on a personal level. Mm-hmm. I wanted to show the world what I was capable of, becoming under a family umbrella. You get to have there's a lot of great things that happen being under a family umbrella, but some of it, there's also bad things that happen. There's a little bit of both, and you have to be mature enough to deal with it. Which in the early days, I wasn't always mature enough, but as I grew and matured in age and experience, I would definitely say I matured into that space and into that position and understanding, but for me, there's a piece of me that would like to show, not being under the family umbrella, what I'm capable of. And that's a pretty strong driving force for me as well. And my partners have their reasons for why they're moving forward as well, and believe in the product. And it's really easy to do our job because of the fact of how much we believe in what we do and what we do for people. We don't have people that leave our fund. All of our clients, minus one person, has left because he had a bankruptcy. But besides that, everybody else has been, since they started, has been with us and loves us.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. And no, I mean, that's, you're in it for the right reasons. And, you not only do you have the stability, the focus on preserving, but also like you said, you want to show people, hey, my dad was a great success, but I can do even more. I can crank this thing up to another level. So I love that, man. I resonate with that a lot. That's
I mean,
awesome.
listen, you and I have all heard the stories of second generation screw ups, and it's like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be that, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So let's see. Let's talk about your real estate a little bit because you do some real estate investing now. You've done some in the past. Kind of how focused are you in that sector?
at this time, we're more focused on, we have one major parcel
Mhm.
under contract, and so that was about 1,000 acres in Florida that we're selling to a home builder.
Mhm.
Um, we're investors in buildings in Atlanta. Our family portfolio stems all the way from Europe to, I would say, to the West Coast. We have stuff from, we're getting out of land, thank God, but we have stuff from buildings to residential, um, all the way throughout I would say from Italy to Aspen. It's kind of
Really?
it's really kind of where the portfolio lies.
Mhm. And is that multifamily, single family, mixed use, kind of just very diverse?
Really diverse. I mean, we have everything from garden apartments, in places of like certain cities in Texas, and some spots maybe I believe in Kentucky. We've had some garden apartments. We also have some single family
Mhm.
stuff as well. No multifamily.
Mhm.
So
No multifamily. And what's the focus of the real estate? Is that something that Alpine does, or is that what Chad does?
it's what Chad and my father
Mhm.
together.
Okay.
Have done a lot of it. When you're in the car business, you're in the real estate business as well. You
Mhm.
know, depending if you're lucky enough that you get to own your own land. So then you start getting a good understanding of real estate from those perspectives.
Mhm.
And prior to starting the family office, my father had always invested in real estate, but we never formalized it in a family office type scenario.
Mhm.
And so by formalizing it this way, it's more, I would say, we're winding down on the real estate side and the real estate investing because
Mhm.
of the other things we have that are performing so well. We can do more with less, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Just mainly put most of the focus into the markets, into Alpine, kind of take it out of the real estate so you're not, you know, looking in two ways at the same time, not being a chameleon.
And also, I mean, for us right now, we're value buyers, and it's really tough to find a value in real estate. I mean, prices,
Yeah.
and look, I mean, we all are enjoying, the appreciation of what's happened over the handful of years now, but real estate values are definitely in a hemisphere that we are not normally used to seeing.
Mhm.
You know,
That's a big question mark too. I've connected with a lot of people on that topic, and some are saying this time, some are saying that time, some are saying within a certain bridge. I don't want to put anything out there because I don't want to speculate and have someone take this the wrong way, but it is a very good time to be the best position to be in right now would be a broker in the real estate space. To be an investor, depending on your plan, if you're exiting now, yes. If you're going to exit in 2 years, it could be great, it could not. So we'll see.
well, that's all. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest thing. Anybody that can tell you what tomorrow is, it's speculative. It's at best, and that's why I'm in love with Alpine because we respond to information, and that's really kind of a key point to what we do. So there's no predictive quality to it. Um,
Mhm.
we're not going to say tomorrow we believe X is going to happen because the president of the United States is speaking to so and so. That's not our expertise. Our expertise is running the fund,
Mhm.
and and we understand how we set it up. That to do it in a way that takes as much into account as much of the variables, the negative variables in their account as we possibly could.
Mhm. Awesome. And can we talk about Alpine a little bit more? I want to understand it better. I want my listeners to understand it because my listeners, I would love for them to get involved with you as well.
Oh no, listen, I would love
Mhm.
anybody that would love to contact me and learn more information about it. I would love to have those conversations. You
Mhm.
know, Alpine is a fund that's set up with a flat 1.25% fee. There is no performance fee. You have a 30-day redemption, and that's only because we trade at the end of the month. And if you told me on the first week of the month, we just have to wait to the end for you to realize your money. And so our whole process with that is when we were limited partners as investors, my partners and I decided we were going to take out anything that bothered us and make it investor friendly as possible. Because our belief was, if you're really good at what you do, you don't have to have a hold up period on the money. You don't have to make it where if somebody wants to exit, they have to wait 6 months and all these other things. We're dealing with liquid instruments, and so for us, it's like, we believe that you cannot be conservative and not be liquid. We believe it's an oxymoron. You can't be conservative if you don't have access to your cash, because you have to manage it and make moves, because how quickly the world moves these days, that if you have stagnant cash, how can you you can't just sell a building in 24 hours and get the money in 72 hours.
No.
So that's the part that's also attractive to me, is being able to manage that in times of, negative variables. And so for us, what we trade is the 1 to 3 year treasury bond, and we trade the 20-year plus treasury, and we trade the S&P 500. And the reason why we chose the S&P 500 is those companies are so big that they can't change overnight. There's a long runway for us, so we can have, and we felt it gives you a global view of the investment world as well. So you can get everything from tech to real estate. I mean, you have everything in the S&P 500. So you have all that exposure, and that's where you're going to make your money as well as the 20-year treasury bond. And the best way I can describe this for listeners that don't fully understand the math side of things is, we're going to give you 65% protection from volatility with 75% of the upside. And so what I mean by that is, because we don't use volatility, and we don't use leverage. We don't use leverage in our fund whatsoever. And so we're doing this with the least amount of risk possible, but we're not able to give you the full upside and protect you 100% on the downside. So where we really shine is when the world goes really haywire, kind of like February last year. That's where we're one of the top funds in the world, and it's protecting downside problems like that, and then the upside, we're giving you 75% of that. And that's really, if you want a smooth ride and you're not worried about the roller coaster of the markets, you want to come to a place like Alpine, where you can sleep at night knowing that your money is in stocks and bonds, and that it's being managed in a conservative manner. And the best proof is our performance. Just look at our performance since we've been alive. There'll be years that you have a 14.6 year, and then there'll be years that you're up a half a point. But over a term of 4 years, our average is a little over 7%, is what our annual return is right now.
It's very similar to almost like a real estate asset, but your money's actually more liquid, correct?
No, it is. And you could achieve, a lot of the IRRs on real estate can be anywhere from that 8 to 12%. And so there's a lot of ways to achieve a return, as you and I both are starting to experience in this life. We wanted to figure out the safest way, in our opinion, to achieve that 7 to 10%, because we feel that real estate is still more volatile than what we're doing.
No, it is. And the volatility of it has been very evident recently with the state of the market. I mean, debt is getting insanely cheap. I mean, before this, I walked through a property, a C-class asset with some value add. After the walkthrough, cooling off in the AC, the broker was telling me the lender who currently had a mortgage, had a loan on that property, they just wrote a bridge loan, for 2.5%, 311 terms. I mean,
that's amazing on a bridge loan. 2.5% on a bridge loan that's actually amazing.
That it blew my mind. I mean, I took his card, I took the lender's name. I was like, I'm going to email you as soon as I get home to get in touch with this lender, because what, 5 years ago, even a conventional loan's at upper 3s, 4%. An institutional product. So that's insane.
It's probably the only good deal currently out there is cash. To go get a loan. I mean, that's literally probably the only value good deal that exists. Everything else is getting priced out. I mean, look, the biggest concern and the reason why a lot of people like coming to us is inflation. we have the ability to keep up with inflation.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And that's why people usually invest in real estate, but that is the downfall of real estate, is that it's not liquid. With you guys, hey, something happened, I need money, or heck, hey, I'm going to go buy this other property, I need to pull out some money. 30 days, it's out. Buy
Yeah.
it, refi, get it, put it right back. That's.
And we do have some investors that do that,
Mhm.
want to have that 7% return in a safe way with their cash, and then they deploy it when they find deals. And then in between deals, they park it with us, And so we're not a lot of funds like that, because money coming in and out can make you look different ways, sometimes perception, out there. But for us, we're okay with that. We've yet to, but minus one, we have one relationship that does that now, but not with high frequency. But we would always entertain relationships like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what does the next 5 years look like for you and Alpine? What's the focus? What's the goal?
The next 5 years is to grow the fund. Right now we're sub 100 million. Mm-hmm. So we're looking to grow this into a $10 billion fund. Mm-hmm. We've done a lot of work on the distribution side. We have some distribution currently set up and some great relationships with some of the bigger, multi-trillion dollar banks of Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And so we're just probably within the next year or so, we'll be able to start unlocking those relationships because of our AUM. And that's the only hindrance. Once you get to a certain AUM, then you get to go to Wall Street. And so right now that's our main focus. And then also, we have an altruistic side to our partnership group. So it's not just solely about profit with us. We're the type of guys we do a lot of charity, and we are looking to make the world and our community a better place surrounding us. Mm-hmm. So there's always that piece to kind of what we do. And each one of us has our own kind of pet charity or interest that we have. And then collectively we have some as well. So I would say a part of growing the fund is, like I said, to show the world what I'm capable of, but also we would like to generate enough assets to kind of change the world around us as well, and make it a better place.
Absolutely, man. I love that. I think having a charity focus and a giving focus gets you a lot farther than a taking focus. And I love connecting with people with that mindset. I think that's why you and I have had such great dialogue, such a great relationship so far. Have we actually shaken hands yet? I think, where did we meet?
Shake hands because of COVID.
That's right.
That's the only thing that kind of kept it apart, because we met right before COVID started. Mm-hmm. Then COVID happened, and then we're now dealing with what we're dealing with, being on these Zooms and all the other stuff. Oh, yeah. But hopefully in the near future we definitely will be able to see each other and get together.
Absolutely, we will. I know we will.
Yeah.
So I guess what could you? I want you to leave my listeners with something, because my listeners are ranging in all different spaces. I want what's something you could leave them as far as a focus, a nugget. I want you to leave them with something. What would you tell them?
I would ask your listeners, what is it that they want to accomplish with their money? Mm-hmm. And then I would ask your listeners to take a look at what they're currently doing, and is it achieving what they want? Mm-hmm. And then if not, I would ask them to educate themselves to get to, if it's not Alpine, look, I would love for every one of your listeners to obviously invest in Alpine. Mm-hmm. So can I sit here and play like I wouldn't want that to happen? Because I would, but if not Alpine, then something that would get them to achieve what they're looking to achieve. Everybody has a different risk profile. Obviously I'm on the conservative side of life, but there's plenty of people that like more risk and aren't afraid of that roller coaster of a ride or losing all their money. I'm afraid of losing all my money. So that's why I do things the way I do it, mm-hmm. But that's probably, I think, the number one thing I would ask of your listeners, just to take a real look at themselves and look at their money, and are they getting what they want, from the actions that they're taking or the people that they're working with. And if not, educate yourself in a different path. Don't be afraid of it. That's probably the number one thing. Don't be afraid of it, and don't quit. Don't ever give up. fight your way through your education, your growing pains and all that stuff, but just don't be afraid of it. Because there was a part of me before getting into this industry that I was afraid of it. It's intimidating. You're dealing with money, you're dealing with bigger numbers, a lot of things can happen very, very quickly, good and bad. So yeah, it can be very intimidating for folks. But for me, it's been a blessing. I mean, I'm one of the fortunate people that gets to love what I do for a living. I like talking to people. I like doing good for them and all that stuff. And I also really love learning how others have made money. It's just, to me, it's amazing to me, all the different ways human beings have achieved success. And I love learning about it. I mean, I really do. And so, and I think the key thing that was said to me a long time ago, and if I could leave your listeners with one thing, it's your relationships. Start working on your relationships, developing them, cultivating them, and treating them as with the respect that they need to be treated with. Because I would not be where I'm at in my life without my relationships.
Absolutely, dude. Relationships are everything. And I love what you said, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. For people to get in touch with you, what should they do? Should I drop your email, drop your phone number?
Yeah, let's do email. We could do Chad at alpine-quant.com. So that's CHAD at ALPINE-QUANT.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Chad.
Thanks for having me. And I look forward to meeting some of your listeners.
Absolutely.